it would look ridiculous if the owner of the team ran down and started calling the plays, or even worse, going to the field and saying, Patrick Mahomes, go ahead and take a seat. I'm going to run the play today. It would be hilarious if you saw the owner of a team do that. But that's what it's like every time an owner operator hires someone, but then jumps in and starts calling the plays.
You're listening to Titans of the Trades. I'm your host, Ryan Englin, author of Hire Better People Faster and creator of the CoreFit Hiring System, a proven process to help growing companies attract and retain only the best. I'm on a mission to revolutionize the perception of the trades and elevate it to new heights. After growing up in a blue-collar family, my passion for making the trades cool again runs deep. If you're a titan in the industry and want to be on my show, stick around until the end and I'll reveal how you can be my next guest. Welcome back to another episode of Titans of the Trades. I am your host, Ryan Englin, and on today's show, get ready to take some notes. Mike Abramowitz, he is the founder of Better Than Rich. He runs GSD initiatives, that is Get Stuff Done, for owner-operators, for those of us that are stuck in the business and we just so desperately want out. We desperately want our people to be able to do it our way. He's going to show us how. He's going to talk through it from his journey of watching his dad as a plumber just grind it out 6 days a week for his entire life, to some of the things that he's gone through personally. It is his mission, his passion, his joy to bring this information to contractors. So get ready, take some notes. I want to introduce on today's show, Mike Abramowitz. Mike, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Ryan.
Man, we had to hit record. We're having such a great conversation in the green room before we did this that I'm like, there's some value to be heard here. So, but before we jump into that and we bring a ton of value to our listeners today, can you just give me a quick little background on who Mike is and what got you to where you're at?
Sure. So Mike Abramowitz, father of two. I got a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old, 4.5 and 1.5. Married and living in St. Augustine, Florida. I have 20 years of direct sales experience. So I spent 20 years with Cutco Kitchen Knives, trained about 5,000 young professionals to do about $20 million in sales there. I became a medical dad unexpectedly. So my son was born as a micro preemie at 26 weeks. He was due in April, was born in New Year's Eve. So we got jumped into the deep end of becoming medical parents unexpectedly. And son of a lifelong plumber. My dad owns a plumbing business. He's 84 years old, still works 6 days a week, takes every call himself, still grinds every day. So he's been running the business 45, 50 years up in Trenton, New Jersey. Mom had 6 kids. Dad had a couple of kids too. So youngest of 8 total kids, and blended family. And, it's a lifelong journey of lessons. I just turned 40 this year. So lots and lots of lessons that I've been able to learn and then try to help as many people as possible. As a 7-time fire walker with Tony Robbins, I got 9 books. I had a nonprofit, provided over 100,000 meals to less fortunate. So there's lots to Mike Abramowitz.
Question on everybody's mind right now is, when do you sleep? When do you sleep, Mike?
Yeah, it's just seasons. There's different seasons to grind, seasons to not. So, but that's a little bit about me.
There's been a lot of things that have, even from early childhood, watching your dad grind for the last 40 plus years, creating this business based on that sales and training background you had. With all those salespeople, you created this business and then all of a sudden became medical parents and now had to step away from the business a little bit. And I know there's so many people right now that just, they get chills thinking about that. They get fear like in their gut thinking, what if I had to step away from the business? And you were able to make that work. Tell us a little bit about that.
So the long short version, 2016 is when I fell in love with my now wife. And that's when I hired a business coach because I couldn't do it all. There's no way that I could do the book signing and the speaking and the direct sales business. And I was a grinder in my business. So let me make sure this is clear, crystal clear. I was the grinder. I was the businessman. I ran every sales call. I did every interview. I did every training session. I did everything. I did administrative payroll. I was every part of the business. And then I was like writing books and doing all this other stuff. So that's when I hired a business coach. He had experience in India, where he helped scale a company from $6 million to $30 million with a team of 1,400 underneath him. So he came to the States and started coaching small business owners how to systemize and corporatize your small business, because I did not want to continue to be a grinder like my dad. And I didn't want to be the business, because all I did was had an overpaying job. It wasn't really a business because it relied solely on me. So I hired him in 2016. So I could, when I got married and became a father, I didn't have to be married to the business like my dad was. So I saw those early signs of just wanting my dad to be more around. You know, he always took his phone on vacation, and he was missed a lot of basketball games growing up. So I just didn't want that. So that's why I hired the business coach. We started building predictability into my business, hiring offshore virtual assistants, automations, you know, CRM upgrades, like all the stuff that some people know, some people don't. Like we did virtual meetings on Zoom before that was relevant, pre-COVID. So we just set a lot of things in place so the business could function where I could work from home. We fast forward to 2020, COVID hits and the world, you know, goes to crazy. And the business was really humming along. That was the first symptoms where I took an 18-day road trip and the business did $100,000 in sales for 1 week during the week that I was not there. So it was like, wow, okay, this is really running. And then New Year's Eve hit, my son was born, and I called my staff. I had about a 15-person staff offshore or onshore, and then another maybe dozen offshore. So I had a pretty large team. We were managing everything, and I said, "You guys are running it. Like we have all the playbooks. We McDonaldified the business. We had all the if-thens, all the predictability, all the playbooks, everything, and just was able to kind of run point from the hospital and work mainly on the business and not inside the business for those 8.5 months. It was 254 days. So the just to tie a bow and then I'll kick it to you. I called my business coach when we got out of the hospital in September 10th, 2021. And I called him up and I said, Andrew, do you think we can partner up to teach other business owners how to do what you taught me how to do? Because my wife has now become a full-time medical mom, and I need to try to find a way to replace her income. And I wanted to see if there's a way for us to just partner up and create something. So that was the birthplace of Better Than Rich. So he said, let's find out. We've now helped anywhere from 280 to 290 different business owners create business predictability inside their business. So that way they could buy back time, not necessarily to like become medical parents, but in case they wanted to take a vacation without their cell phone, or if they wanted to like just build more predictability in the business so they didn't have to be in such reaction mode all the time. So that's kind of where we've planted our flag and started specializing here, which has been great.
Well, now we all know you're crazy because taking a vacation without a cell phone, Mike, it doesn't happen, right? Wow. I mean, I'm just listening to your journey. I have so many questions. Let's start back with your dad for a minute, because you had said that you had seen this thing that your dad went through where he's grinding, and when you met your wife, you're like, I don't want to be that. I don't want that. What were some of the things that made you go, hey, that's not normal? Because I think that's a real challenge for a lot of business leaders right now, especially owner operators, is they grew up in the trade, they grew up watching it, and they go, well, that's what dad did, that's what granddad did, so that's what I'm going to do. And there was something that triggered it for you that said, hey, that's not normal. There's another way. Can you break that down for me a little bit?
So because I was exposed to the white collar cut go vector marketing, like sales, like I got exposed to mentors um, that showed me other ways. Like I read Rich Dad Poor Dad when I was 20 years old, or when I was like 18. And I bought my first house when I was 20. So I had 3 rental properties before I graduated college. I just wanted to get ahead. So I was exposed to like 1 Minute Manager, How to Win Friends and Influence People, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. So in my like late teens, early 20s, I had great mentors expose me to just different types of thinking. And from that place, that's where I think that seed was planted. And that's where I saw, wow, there's another way of doing the same thing. Like Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki talks about like your business creates money and then your money creates more money. And then you put the money into cash flow assets. And I was like, wow, okay, that made sense. So instead of buying a new car, I bought a house. And just getting exposed to some of that made a big difference for me. I would say that's the one blessing that I had. And then from there, getting into the personal growth space and traveling, seeing Tony Robbins on stage and sharing a lot of his message. And then that kind of transformed into, okay, there's definitely a different way of doing the same thing. Like, it doesn't have to be exchanging my time for money, or my time for service. I could lead through people. I could lead through processes. As long as I'm solving a problem in the marketplace, people will respond and respond to the value that I could add to the marketplace. So it doesn't have to necessarily be me. It could be my entity or my business. So yeah, it evolved.
So you were able to take that lesson from more of that knowledge workspace and transfer it over to the trades, because I know that, I mean, you and I are both incredibly passionate about the trades, got similar stories in watching our dads grind it out, still to this day, grind it out. And I know that for me, one of my superpowers is being able to take these corporate enterprise type processes and say, hey, we're going to distill this down into something that works for a 60-person company when it comes to people. And I know that you've done the same thing. You'd mentioned offshore. You've got a team of people, I think it was about 50-50 are here in the States, and then the rest are offshore. I know a lot of people think about that. And if they're like me, all you hear is the bad stuff. You never hear the good stuff about having virtual assistants and being able to help. Talk to me for a minute. Like, how does that help contractors being able to do that? Or is it even possible?
Sure. I'll give you an example. We have a guy, Darren. He runs a multi-million-dollar landscape lighting company, and he has 3 locations. He's up in like Chicagoland area, and he was he was sending out text messages through his Chirp. He was, had people managing his like House Call Pro. He didn't really have a CRM before House Call Pro, like from his marketing seat. He was posting stuff seldom on social media, once in a while. He was still inside of his inbox, handling responses, emails, text messages. So where an offshore virtual assistant team has helped him, I mean, we've bought him back, without exaggeration, 12 to 15 hours a week of his time by plugging in an offshore virtual assistant team. And these VAs, most of them are in the Philippines. We have a team that's India, Pakistan, Latin America. I mean, they're all over the world, but we plug them into his business, and now 12 to 15 hours, all his inbox is managed, his Chirp responses are managed, his social media is managed, all of his graphic designs are managed. So, I mean, he was in the hospital. Unfortunately, he had a scare. He was in the hospital for a week, and like the business, all the administrative stuff, everything still was happening. He does have an office manager, but the office manager was handling like incoming calls and like being a CSR, which is what she's supposed to do. And then the administrative team, the VAs offshore, are handling the stuff that is below her wage. If she's making $30 to $35 an hour, he's getting, the dollar goes a lot further in these other places, and they're qualified and capable of plugging in to handle all the administrative stuff. So that's just one use case of hundreds that I could pick from.
Yeah, and it's interesting, the use cases that you brought up. As you're talking through it, I'm like, well, if I don't have that, the inbox doesn't get managed. The social media doesn't get done. The graphic design doesn't get done. The Chirp responses don't get done. All of the things that you're doing are the things that are so critical to that customer experience and supporting the team, that I see so many owners just like, I'll get to that on the weekend, if at all. And I mean, these things are so important because I see that there's this tendency to say, hey, that's not important stuff. I'll get back to my team on that email next week. I see this in recruiting all the time. I really desperately need some new technicians, but it's Monday morning. I got fires to put out. I'll get back to those guys in a week or two. Right? And so a lot of the things that are really important, you're helping them systematize that. And
Yeah.
Is that fair?
That's the goal. Yeah. And I'm glad you said that, because I know we didn't get there. We probably will, but there is a 6 principal tier where it's not just plugging in the offshore team. The reason why there's a bad rap with offshore team is because they think that's the solution. That's not a solution. We're plugging an offshore team into a predictable process that's already established and built. So if we just put someone, like, for example, I paid a company $2,500 to give me my first virtual assistant. This is pre-COVID. I didn't know anything about how to delegate to a virtual assistant who lived in the Philippines. So they gave me this person. And then it was up to me. I had to train her, I had to tell her what to do, I had to plug her into my business, but I didn't know how to do any of that stuff. So that's why my coach kind of helped me along the way. But having a who without any type of system or playbook or processes or anything doesn't necessarily solve the problem in a lot of cases. So I just that's where some of those terrible stories come from, in my opinion, is they have a doer in a seat, but no one's showing the doer what to do. They're having a doer and they think they hired an expert. And those are two different types of who's. Those are two different types of team members. So if you want an expert for the price of a doer, that doesn't exist. You get a doer. An expert is much more expensive than a doer. So we could obviously jam on that a little bit more, but more than likely the offshore, a lot of them are doers in most cases, although we do have some experts, and the dollar does go further. You don't have to pay an expert, $100,000 a year. You would have to probably pay that someone $100,000 a year stateside, but someone in a different part of the world, you might be able to get them for a fraction of the cost because they're an expert at what they do, but they live in a place where the dollar just goes further.
It's interesting that you brought that up, because I see this happen a lot when, like, a really common example that I see in almost every company we work with is there's always someone in business development. There's always someone in sales, and they're like, hey, we have this really great sales guy. We need him to build the sales team. He's a great doer, but we need him to think more strategically and be an expert. How do you build a sales team? How do you motivate people? How do you generate leads systematically? All these other things. And then it just doesn't work. Or they take their office manager and they say, hey, you're a great office manager. I need you to go build this next new thing for us. Go launch Service Titan for us. And the office manager's like, that's not what I do. But of course they don't say no. And then all of a sudden you've got doers that you're expecting them to deliver as experts without any training, without any process, without anything like that. So thinking about process for a minute, and I do want to get to the time rich 6, because I mean, it's super meaty right there. What is one, like, I want people to understand, when you say process, when you say system, when you're talking about documenting stuff, what are you talking about? What's one example that every contractor could use?
Sure.
That you see time and time again?
A simple way to think about this is like a flow chart. It's a process is if then. So it's just like different boxes. So we did this, Molly and Jeff both, they run Elegant Accents, another landscape lighting company. But what we did is after the point of sale, they said after the point of sale, we don't have a really good process to get back in front of our clients. So we wanted to build a flow of how can we get back in front of our clients within their first 12 months. And in some organizations, we call that maintenance visit or service agreement. So we built out a flow chart, if then. So after the point of sale, we do a walkthrough of the property. If we do a walkthrough of the property and they're satisfied, then ask them for referrals. After we ask them referrals, 7 days later, ask them for a review. So then if they give us referrals, then ask them for a review. If they don't give us referrals, then we want to ask them for feedback on how their experience was. So we want to get feedback. So that's what I mean by if thens. It's just if thens. Well, no matter what happens. So then it's assuming everything is perfect. They gave us a review. Great. If they gave us a review, then send them this email sequence and put them into an email sequence that adds value to the relationship. 30 days since purchase, 60 days since purchase, 90 days since purchase, and then work it backwards. Their labor warranty ends at 12 months. So at 11 months, we want to get back in their home to do a labor walkthrough for free because it's included before the 12-month labor warranty is over. So what are all the if-thens leading up to the 11-month visit? Hey, you're due for your warranty is expiring. Let's come over and check all the bulbs, make sure everything works, make sure everything's perfect. Bunch of if-thens, if-thens, if-thens. We get to the house. If everything is perfect and there's nothing that needs to be done under warranty, then let's sell them a maintenance plan that they could buy every year. So that way, if those bulbs don't work or if something doesn't work, then, they just call us and they get premier service. They don't have to pay full price. So it's just like, that's what I mean by system and processes. The owner just has to map out what's in his mind or her mind and just say, what are the if thens If yes, then we go on this journey. If no, then we go on this journey, and mapping that out on a Canva or a whiteboard or even just a sticky notes or pads. That's what I mean by a system, because the team that we're talking about before, the offshore team or any team, plugs into the boxes. Every one of those if then boxes will eventually require a who. There's someone who's going to be doing the things, sending the email or typing the email or going to the appointment and having the conversation. But we don't just want to do that on the whim. We actually want to plug it into some sort of predictability. And that's why there's the time rich 6, which we alluded to. And I could kick it to you, and then we can go on what is
No,
the actual order of those 6.
You're breaking down this process systems ideas, and I know that I have a tendency to over engineer things. I don't know if you know any entrepreneurs like that, or they have this belief that in order for it to work and for people to be able to use it, it has to be over engineered. Like it's going to be 27 pages. No one's ever going to use it. And that's not what you're saying. What you're saying is, what I heard you say was, what's that one thing that when somebody asks you about it, you either verbally say it or under your breath go, yeah, we should do that. But we forget. We get busy. We should do that. And like following up, or at 11 months, doing a walkthrough. You and I both know that all those maintenance programs and everything else is about getting the technician and the salesperson back in front of the homeowner so that they can have a conversation about what's the next thing and all of that. And so often I hear contractors say, we should do that, but we don't. Because there's no system, there's no reminder, there's no box for someone to look at and check. And that's what you're saying. It doesn't have to be this thing that's a 27 or 100-page manual of all this stuff we do. Just pick a couple of those little things that you should be doing. You know better. You just don't. Did I hear that right?
That's correct. And just to make sure it's crystal clear, for that process, we built it out. We did. We made it all plug and play. We put it into their CRM. We put it into their Go High Level on the marketing side, and then we put it into their House Call Pro on the back end side. But here's the thing. They had tracked 15 homes that they got back into the previous year. In 9 months of tracking this, they got back into 192 homes. So it went from 15 to 192, and then generated over 6 figures in new revenue from past clients that they already saw. Now, this is a company doing about $1 million. They generated another 6 figures. That's like a 10% up tilt in new revenue with spending $0 extra dollars on ad spend. So $0 extra spend on ads, 10% increase in revenue for just building out a follow-up system by breaking it down. What's the systems? What are the if-thens? What are the documentation of that? Who's plugging in and where? And then what technology we're going to use for them? That's essentially 4 of the principles: systems, playbooks, team, tech. If-thens, documentation of it, who's plugging in, and then what technology are they using, just to make sure that it can run on autopilot as much as possible.
Yeah. Wow. I so many ideas, but I want to get to this time rich 6. Let's talk about that for a minute. Tee that up. What is the time rich 6? And more importantly, I'd like to know why this was the thing that you developed, because I know that you use these principles when your child was born, and that's what allowed you to be able, and then you're like, wow, this is the thing.
Yeah.
Where did it come from? And what is it?
I didn't know this is what it was, but I sat down when my daughter was born. Ella's now 18, 19 months. But when she was born, I sat down, I took 3 months paternity leave, and I just sat there and started thinking about what was the actual frameworks. Like, we had ideas of stuff, but we were pulling from Michael Gerber's E-Myth, and we're pulling from Dan Martell's Buy Back Your Time. And, it was other people's language, but I really sat and thought about what was my playbook. And that's where I broke down, okay, what did I have in place? Number one is I had boundaries. I knew it. I was protecting my priorities. My priorities were, I wanted to have family leadership. I wanted to have freedom for my wealth and my health. I wanted to create a business that could run without me. So if these were my priorities, I wanted to create boundaries around that. So that was number one. And then number two is communication guidelines. How did I want people to get my attention? What deemed an email versus a text message versus a phone call versus in person? So I created all these boundaries and priorities, and then I created these communication guidelines for the talent on my team, my clients, and my prospects on how they could get my attention. Those two helped me with my founder lifestyle. Boundaries, communication guidelines helped me with founder lifestyle. But then from the business predictability piece, then it came the next four, which is what I alluded to, which is systems, playbooks, team, tech. Systems, if thens, flowchart. Playbooks, SOPs, documentation of whatever is inside those flowcharts. Team, who's executing those playbooks, and then the technology that they're using to support them, AI, CRMs, or Zapier, automation technology, whatever it might be. And the best analogy that I came up with is like a sports team. If there's the owner of the sports team hires the coach, and the coach hires a quarterback as an example, it would almost look ridiculous if the owner of the team ran down and started calling the plays. Or even worse, going to the field and saying, Patrick Mahomes, go ahead and take a seat. I'm going to run the play today. It would be hilarious if you saw the owner of a team do that. But that's what it's like every time an owner operator hires someone on the team, but then jumps in and starts calling the plays instead of the person that they hired to run the plays. So that's why I want to help anybody who's listening to right now say, take a step back and think of your business as a sports team. There's different roles on the team. There's a kicker, and there's someone that, there's a quarterback, there's a running back, there's a coach. And every time you, as an owner operator, go in and start calling those plays or running those plays, that means whoever you hire to run those plays is not doing the job that you hired them for. So what message is that sending to them? What message is it sending to your CSR, your office manager, or the technician in your company that you hired this person to do the thing, but then it's like you're calling them in the morning saying, hey, are you sure you got this down? Or are you ready? You're clear? Or I'm going to actually drive you to the job. I'm going to walk the site with you. I'm not telling you to change your business model, but I do think it makes sense for you to question. If I hired someone and they're not competent, then I either need to increase my training or need to increase my talent pool. But ideally, it's the training because, frankly, it's no one else's responsibility for your business other than you. But I want to get off my soapbox there for just a moment.
Well, that's a question I want to ask you. So how often so if I'm listening to this right now, I'm in my truck, I'm on my way to a job, I just got off a call telling my service manager what the heck he's supposed to be doing and double checking with me and everything else. And I'm sitting here thinking, Mike, you're crazy. There's no way that anybody has enough time to pull that off because my people just don't do it my way. And I don't have the time to sit down and write out how to do it my way. Like, is there I know there's no, magic pill here, but is there a way that I can take that first step that says, hey, you know what? I never want to have that call again. I'm going to put that system in place. I'm going to put that playbook, those people, I'm going to teach them what I need to teach them just so I never have to do that thing again. Is there an easy way for these owner entrepreneurs to be able to step in and say, okay, I'm going to take that first step towards what Mike's talking about? Because otherwise it just feels like a nirvana kind of nice to have, only certain people can get it type of thing.
I might get emotional. But here's what's going to happen. You're going to have a circumstance or something happen in your life. And then you'll say, okay, I need to go figure this out. I got to leave the business and I'm going to have to put these systems in place, or I'm going to figure out another way because I have a heart attack, or because a death of a loved one, or my wife is leaving me, or, you fill in the blank. A key hire is no longer with me. Like, you're either going to wait for a circumstance to happen and then say, that's the gut check I needed. And you're going to say, well, business is going to suffer now for the next 3 months while I figure some things out. Or you're going to do it now. JFK said it best, that the best time to work on the roof is when the sun is shining. And if you're right now, there's not a big circumstance that you're fighting uphill against. This is the time where you block off a half a day or a day or a weekend, and you do nothing except solve for the problems that you continue to fight. If you're a firefighter all the time in your business, you don't have to be. But I'll tell you right now, if a circumstance happens, a disaster or disease or death or divorce or something is coming your way, you're going to figure it out then. You might as well do it now. and not wait for the circumstance. So my key word here is being intentional.
Mm.
Being intentional now. Otherwise, you're going to be reactive later. And if that reaction never happens, then it's like maybe you're the lucky one. But we see it all the time. We see it all the time. And it doesn't make sense to just wait and see. If you have the bandwidth and the capacity to say, you know what, client, I know you needed me right now today, but I'm not available. And maybe you lose a couple of jobs today. That's not what we want. But if you lose 5 jobs today, but you create a predictable machine that can create 50 jobs later and get 10x return, it's one step back with 50 steps forward, but it's got to happen. Otherwise, you're always going to be the bottleneck. And then what's going to happen when you want to exit your job? Well, you're going to exit either because you die, you're going to exit because you want to sell the business, but then you realize the business is not worth what you thought it was going to be because it's not a business. It's a job that depends on you and nobody wants to buy that business. So now you spent your entire life building something that doesn't actually sell. Or number 3, you pass a sloppy, messy business to your kids or legacy, and then they just run it into the ground because it's so messy and it's still not a business that can run. So that just your legacy actually, it died with you anyway. That's really what's going to happen if the owner doesn't take a step back and say, I've got to be intentional with creating predictability in my business if I want it to rely on systems and business and not rely on me as the owner, because that owner doesn't have a job or doesn't have a business that just has a high paying job. That's my soapbox on that one, man.
No, and you did such a great job of it. I'm not even going to echo it other than to say you are absolutely right. And I see this all the time. I mean, I'm on the hiring side, which is all about systems and the playbooks so that the people know what they're supposed to be doing. And so often, I'll get a phone call from an owner operator. He's like, I'm ready to sell my business. What do I got to do? And I sit down and I talk with them. I'm like, you are the business. Or they're like, oh, my kids don't really want it. I'm like, yeah, because it's a mess and it relies on you. Like, let's make it so the kids want it. And so absolutely echo everything you said. Now, you're in the middle of doing some research and really understanding what's going on in the market. And you're looking to talk to some entrepreneurs right now that are in the thick of it just so you can learn. But you're not just a take kind of guy, you're a give kind of guy. And I know it because you've got some incredible tools, some incredible things you can do to help these entrepreneurs that are looking for something else. Tell us a little bit about what you got going on and how our listeners can connect with you.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Ryan. Right now, we've helped 200 and almost 300 businesses from all different types of businesses, from network marketing, direct sales, real estate investors, brick and mortar, and our favorites have been in the trades. So because I've kind of been in my seat that I've been in for quite some time, I want to learn how to serve the trades as best as possible. So I'm calling these GSD sessions, get shit done or get stuff done. I don't know if it's a clean show, but we're calling them GSDs, where I would just want to get something done with a business owner. So if you say, this is where it hurts, I'm going to sit down with you. I want to figure out where it hurts and create a solution that you could plug into your business with you. But in exchange, I want to hear more about why did that happen in the first place? What led to that? So it's almost going to be a user interview, but it's also going to be giving you some solutions. If you need hiring playbooks, or if you need client follow-ups, if you need a quoting process, if you need a lead nurture, I'll give you a 12-month lead nurture campaign for your prospects or your clients. I'll build everything out custom. I'm really good at AI. We'll plug it in. We could get a lot of stuff done fast. Give me 30 to 40 minutes and you'll be blown away with how much I could get done. And that's all I have to ask for. So betterthanrich.com/GSD, betterthanrich.com/GSD. You go there, book a conversation with me, and fill out a couple of questions, and we'll have a bunch of custom things done for you. And we would love to just add value where we can. And if for some reason you say, Mike, what's the catch? Why would you be willing to do that? There's going to be a sales call on the other end. We are not looking right now in this season, we could only maybe onboard 5 businesses at a time where we plug in our team into their company and be like a plug-in ops team. So it's not something we're looking to source. They have to have a multi-7-figure business. They have to figure out a bunch of check boxes. So just to satisfy that monkey brain, it's I don't want to book a sales call. The sales call happens 3 or 4 or 5 conversations after this one, if this business is even qualified for our services, because it's like hiring like a $60,000 to $100,000 like key hire to like come into your business. So we got nothing to sell you on the front end. I truly want to learn where your problems and pains are so we could solve for them on the back end, and give you a ton of value and also learn as much as possible. So betterthanrich.com/GSD would be the way to go.
All right. And you didn't say this word, but there's no cost for this meeting, right?
No, nothing.
So you're not going to get sold. In fact, you don't even get to ask for a sales pitch, is what I heard. You don't have to invest anything other than some time to get ready for the meeting and to have the meeting. And in exchange, not only are you going to be able to pick Mike's brain, but him and his team are going to create some customized tools specifically for your business that it sounds like you can implement right away. I mean, 12-month follow-up nurture campaign, send it to your marketing person and say, get this thing running, even lead tracking and some of the other stuff that you'd mentioned. I mean, just so incredible that you're able to do so much for the industry to support them so that we don't end up seeing more and more owner operators end up like our fathers and grinding it out into their 70s and 80s. So Mike, thank you so much. Is there any other way people can get a hold of you? They can connect with you other than betterthanrich.com/GSD?
That would be the best way to get to me. I full transparency, my assistants run my life. So that's going to get you directly to me. Everything else might be like an AI version of me or someone that's like acting as me. So everything else is great. You can listen to our podcast and everything. I know Ryan's going to be coming on the show. Highly recommend. Yeah, betterthanrich.com/GSD gets to me. And I will say for anybody listening, if you have not checked out the Core Matters, just the entire update that Ryan and his team has made to the blueprint, it's pretty stellar. And I just want to give a shout out that one of my new favorite books is Hire Better People Faster. And every time I read a book, I fold a page that has really good value in it. And this is how many pages are folded. So it is filled with really great information and not even just information, but like playbooks of like, here's what you do in an interview and here's what you post in the ads. So Hire Better People Faster. Just want to endorse that for you, Ryan, because it's really a great book.
Thank you, Mike. And thank you for being on the show. I'm looking forward to learning more from you, connecting, collaborating on some things, being on your show. But thank you for all the value you brought today. Because you could have held back and you could have said, no, we're going to talk high level and then get you into a sales call. But you did not do that. In fact, you told people no sales call, in fact. And this 6 time-rich framework is just so amazing how you break it down into your people and then what the founder gets out of it with boundaries and everything else. And I would encourage you to go back, listen to this show again if you didn't already take notes, because I've got a page of notes here and I was not expecting to take notes. Just so much valuable stuff. Mike, thank you so much for contributing to the trades and to our audience and listeners. I love what you're doing and look forward to just watching you and see how this evolves over time.
Thanks so much, Ryan. Thanks again.
Ryan Englin here. Thank you so much for listening to Titans of the Trades. If you're a titan in the construction, manufacturing, or skilled trades industry and would like to be a guest on my show, please visit podcast.corematters.com. If you found value in this interview, would you share this episode on social media? Just do a quick screenshot on your phone and share it with a friend or post it on social. And if you know someone that would be a great guest, tag them on social media to let them know about the show and include the hashtag Titans of the Trades. I love seeing your posts and guest suggestions. We are regularly putting out new episodes and content. To make sure you don't miss any episodes, click the subscribe button. Your thumbs up, ratings, and reviews go a long way to help promote the show and get me one step closer to solving the labor crisis facing the industry. Want to know more about how we're doing that? Go to our website or follow me on LinkedIn. Thanks for listening.